This episode contains mature themes and includes narration produced using AI voice technology. Listener discretion is advised. It was a chilly winter night in 1951 in St. Petersburg, Florida. The air was thick with humidity, and the smell of the ocean lingered in the atmosphere. In a modest apartment, Mary Reeser sat quietly in her armchair, the glow of the evening's last embers flickering softly. What happened next would shock her neighbors and baffle investigators for decades. This is the story of one of the most mysterious and unsettling phenomena in history: spontaneous human combustion. Welcome to Three Theories, the podcast where we uncover the great mysteries of the world. I'm Elena Hart, your guide on this journey through the unknown. Each episode will examine unsolved cases, paranormal phenomena, and historical and natural mysteries, and explore three compelling theories to help you decide. What do you believe? On the evening of July 1st, 1951, Mary Reeser's son, Dr. Richard Reeser, visited her apartment. The day had been hot and humid, typical for a Florida summer, and the evening brought a slight, welcomed breeze. The small apartment was dimly lit, and the scent of Mary's favorite lavender perfume mixed with the musty smell of old books and furniture. Mary, a 67-year-old widow, was sitting comfortably in her favorite armchair. The armchair, a well-worn piece of furniture, was upholstered in a soft floral fabric. She was wearing her usual attire, a simple nightgown and a light robe. As they chatted, the soft crackle of the nearby fireplace provided a soothing background noise. As the night wore on, Dr. Reeser kissed his mother goodnight and left, closing the door behind him. The clock ticked quietly, marking the passing of time. Mary settled deeper into her chair, the glow from the fireplace casting flickering shadows on the walls. She lit a cigarette, the tip glowing brightly as she took a drag. The smell of tobacco filled the air, blending with the lingering scent of lavender. The next morning, Mary's landlady, Pansy Carpenter, approached the apartment to deliver a telegram. As she reached the door, she noticed the doorknob was unusually hot. Concerned, she knocked but received no response. She called for help, and together with two workmen, they forced the door open. What they found was horrifying. The apartment was filled with a strange, smoky odor. Unlike any typical house fire, the armchair where Mary had been sitting was mostly intact, but a pile of ashes lay on the seat. Amidst the ashes was a portion of Mary's left foot, still clad in a black slipper, and a part of her skull, shrunken to the size of a teacup. The surrounding room showed minimal damage. A few nearby plastic objects had melted, and there was a slight soot stain on the walls and ceiling, but the rest of the apartment was largely untouched. The intense heat required to reduce a human body to ashes should have caused much more destruction. Yet it hadn't. Investigators arrived, puzzled by the scene. They sifted through the ashes, searching for clues. The local fire department, police, and even the FBI were involved, but no one could explain how the fire had started or why it had burned so selectively. The case of Mary Reeser became one of the most famous examples of what some believe to be spontaneous human combustion. The mysterious death of Mary Reeser left everyone questioning the nature of the fire. Could it really be possible for a human body to ignite and burn so completely without an external source. Over the years, scientists, skeptics, and paranormal enthusiasts have debated the possibility of spontaneous human combustion, proposing various theories to explain this perplexing phenomenon. Today, we'll explore 3 of the most compelling theories surrounding spontaneous human combustion. What could cause a person to burst into flames so suddenly and with such intensity? Let's examine the possibilities. The first theory, known as the Wick Effect, suggests that spontaneous human combustion is not truly spontaneous, but rather a slow, smoldering process similar to the burning of a candle. According to this theory, the human body acts as the wick, while the person's clothing or an external ignition source starts the fire. Imagine Mary Reeser, tired from the day, sitting in her armchair with a lit cigarette in hand. As she drifted off to sleep, the cigarette fell from her fingers and landed on her nightgown. The fabric, made from a flammable material, began to smolder. The heat from the burning fabric slowly ignited the fatty tissues beneath Mary's skin, which acted as a fuel source. The fire smoldered slowly, feeding off the fat in Mary's body, much like a candle burns its wax. The confined heat caused her body to burn at an unusually high temperature, reducing her to ashes while the fire remained relatively contained. The lack of significant damage to the surrounding room can be explained by the slow, localized nature of the fire. As the flames consumed Mary's body, the intense heat caused her skull to shrink and her bones to disintegrate. The pile of ashes left behind was the result of the hours of smoldering combustion rather than a sudden burst of flames. The strange odor in the apartment was the byproduct of the burning body, a mix of organic compounds and chemicals released during the process. Critics of this theory argue that the Wick Effect requires a continuous source of fuel, and it's unclear how such a fire could sustain itself long enough to consume an entire body. However, proponents point to similar cases where bodies have burned in a similar manner, leaving behind minimal damage to the surroundings. The second theory suggests that spontaneous human combustion could be the result of an internal chemical reaction, possibly triggered by a combination of factors within the body. According to this theory, certain conditions could lead to the production of flammable gases or chemicals that ignite spontaneously. Picture Mary Reeser's body, a complex biochemical system. As she sat in her armchair, perhaps she ingested or was exposed to a substance that triggered a chemical reaction within her body. This reaction could have produced a flammable gas, such as methane, which accumulated in her tissues. Mary's body, already weakened by age and possibly certain health conditions, became a ticking time bomb. The heat from the nearby fireplace, combined with the flammable gases within her, created the perfect conditions for spontaneous ignition. As the gases ignited, her body burned from the inside out, leaving behind the strange and selective fire damage observed by investigators. The intense heat generated by the chemical reaction caused Mary's body to burn rapidly, reducing her to ashes. The remaining parts of her body, such as the foot and skull, were left behind because they were less affected by the internal fire. The melted plastic objects and soot stains in the room were secondary effects of the intense heat. Critics of this theory argue that there is no definitive evidence of such chemical reactions occurring naturally within the human body. Additionally, the idea of flammable gases accumulating to the point of ignition is seen as highly improbable by many scientists. However, the theory remains a compelling explanation for the mysterious nature of spontaneous human combustion. The third theory steps into the shadowy realm of the paranormal and supernatural, suggesting that spontaneous human combustion could be caused by forces beyond our current understanding. According to this theory, the phenomenon might involve unexplained energy fields, psychic phenomena, or otherworldly influences. Imagine Mary Reeser's apartment, a seemingly ordinary setting, but perhaps influenced by unseen forces. Some paranormal investigators believe that certain individuals might possess an inherent ability to generate intense heat or energy within their bodies. This energy, under specific circumstances, could cause the person to ignite spontaneously. In Mary's case, the stress and emotional turmoil of her life might have triggered this latent ability. As she sat in her armchair, her body began to generate an intense internal heat, building up until it reached a critical point. The sudden release of this energy caused her to burst into flames, consuming her body rapidly. The selective nature of the fire, which left the room largely untouched, could be explained by the focused intensity of the paranormal energy. The strange odor in the apartment might have been a byproduct of this otherworldly phenomenon, a scent unlike any typical fire. Critics of this theory point out the lack of scientific evidence for such paranormal abilities or energy fields. They argue that relying on supernatural explanations detracts from the search for rational, evidence-based answers. However, the theory of paranormal or supernatural forces remains an intriguing possibility for those who believe in the unexplained. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Three Theories. The phenomenon of spontaneous human combustion is a chilling mystery that raises profound questions about the human body, the limits of scientific understanding, and the possibility of forces beyond our comprehension. Was Mary Reeser's death the result of the Wick Effect, an internal chemical reaction, or paranormal forces? What do you believe? To learn more about spontaneous human combustion, visit the resources provided in the show notes and on our website, threetheoriespodcast.com. There you can find detailed information, documents, and additional reading to help you form your own conclusions. We want to hear your thoughts and theories. Share them with us on social media and join the conversation. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your support helps us reach more curious minds like yours and continue to explore the world's greatest mysteries. Join us next time as we uncover another intriguing case and present 3 more theories for you to consider. Until then, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember, sometimes truth is stranger than fiction.